This morning, Amanda Knox facing another guilty verdict in an Italian courtroom. She was fighting yet again to clear her name once and for all. But this time, a 16-year-old slander conviction upheld, stemming from a murder case of her British roommate Meredith Kircher. In an emotional 10-minute speech before the verdict, Knox telling the court why she wrote the note at the center of the trial, at times trembling. Her lawyer speaking after the verdict.
This decision came with a big surprise. We were looking for having a dismissal, and we don't know exactly what is the logic behind this decision.
Knox was accused of pinning the killing on a Congolese bar owner who she worked for part-time while studying abroad in Italy. The accusation based on two statements she signed while in police custody for Kircher's murder. The now 36-year-old wife and mother of two discussed the slander charge on her podcast Labyrinths last December.
My argument is that I was coerced into signing those statements, and I never intended to implicate myself or others in a crime that I didn't commit.
Kircher's death spiraling into an international media frenzy back in 2007. Knox and her former boyfriend, whose DNA was found at the scene. In 2015, both Knox and Solicito had their convictions overturned.
Amanda Knox being found guilty means that final blemish, after a long saga of being found guilty and then ultimately exonerated, will remain. That even though the slanderous statements were found not admissible, that the prosecution found a way to still uphold the conviction.
Holly Menino, Como News.
This morning, the Italian court sentenced Knox to 3 years in prison, but she will not have to serve any of that time because she spent 4 years behind bars before being exonerated in Meredith Kircher's murder. During court this morning, Knox said again that she wrongly accused Patrick Lumumba under intense police pressure, adding, quote, "I am very sorry that I was not strong enough to resist the pressure of police. I didn't know who the murderer was. I had no way to know." This morning, homicide detectives are investigating a deadly shooting at an apartment complex in Maple Valley. It happened not far from the Wilderness Village shopping center. The victim was found outside on a sidewalk. Still a lot of questions at this hour, including who that person is, what led up to the violence, and whether investigators have any suspects. This morning, troopers are investigating a fatal crash in Sumner on Highway 410 near Highway 167. The State Patrol says the causing driver hit a second car head on. The driver of that second car was killed. The causing driver was arrested on suspicion of DUI vehicular homicide. A third vehicle was also involved, but troopers say the driver of that vehicle was not hurt. This morning's crash comes several days after 3 separate wrong-way DUI crashes Sunday in Pierce County. 2 people killed in one of those previous crashes were military service members stationed at JBLM. The Seattle Fire Department now just waiting on the mayor's signature to start tearing down vacant buildings before they turn into a safety threat. The city council voted to change the fire code Tuesday, just hours after a woman died in a vacant building fire. Como's Lee Stoll has a look at what happens next.
Crews are out here today cutting the gas to this building before it is torn down. This is emergency legislation by the city council, meaning it will take effect as soon as Mayor Harrell signs it.
The vote by the Seattle City Council was unanimous. It amends the Seattle Fire Code so the Seattle Fire Department can order a building to be remediated or demoed. It also requires property owners to pay for the work to make sure the buildings are safe. In extreme cases, the city would do that work, then put a lien on the property to recover the costs.
It's also a commitment to our neighbors in each of the districts that we have these vacant buildings in, these public safety threats essentially. And again, our commitment to, create a safe base for our city.
According to the city, there were 77 vacant building fires in 2021, 91 in 2022, and 130 in 2023. There have been more than 30 so far this year. Nick Jenkins, who owns this building where a woman died in a fire on Tuesday, says he's done all he can to keep people out.
We boarded it up again, tried to make it as unattractive as we possibly could, secured as much as we possibly could, and still, people are always going to break in. There's only so much a human being can do.
He supports a plan to demolish unsafe buildings, but he worries how many owners will pay for it.
I don't like the idea that the city could do it, charge whatever it wants, and then stick me with the bill. I can find someone to demo this, and I have an incentive to keep my costs down.
The fire department says they've identified 40 buildings that have had at least one fire and could be immediately impacted by this vote. The legislation includes funding for the fire department to take action on 4 buildings by the end of the year. We have asked the fire department for more information on where they're going to begin. As soon as we hear back, we will let you know. In Seattle, I'm Lee Stoll, KOMO News.
That brings us to this morning's KOMO Pulse poll. We're asking, do you agree with the city's response to address derelict buildings? 30% of you say yes, they're acting quickly. 22% of you say somewhat. I'd like to see more action. The vast majority of you, 40%, saying no, more needs to be done. And 8% of you say you're unsure. So to add your vote, just point your phone's camera at the QR code on the side of your screen. That'll create a link to take you directly to this poll at KOMOnews.com. A reprieve for about 200 asylum seekers initially told they would be arrested for trespassing. They are currently camped out in a lot on Central Avenue North in Kent, where the old Ecumenical Lodge is located. They were told by King County that they had to be off the property Tuesday afternoon, but that deadline passed without arrest. We reached out to the Kent Police Department. They told us the sheriff's office would not participate in enforcing the trespass order and that the city would not take any action without partnership from the sheriff's office.
I think it's really wrong for them to come to these families and scare them and tell them you're getting arrested.
The county says the city controls any usage of the property under an agreement with the county. KOMO reached out to the Kent mayor's office to find out if the camp will be allowed to stay. We have not heard back yet. Plans for a controversial tiny home village in Spanaway are moving forward. Yesterday, the Pierce County hearing examiner ruled in favor of the Tacoma Rescue Mission's conditional use permit for the Good Neighbor Village project near Spanaway Lake. Once completed, the site will feature nearly 300 tiny homes. TRM and developers have faced pushback from neighbors about the potential environmental impacts the site would bring. Construction could begin as early as this fall, with residents welcomed by the end of next year. Newly released Seattle police body cam video of a traffic stop involving the driver of a car known as the Belltown Hellcat. Police pulled him over in downtown Seattle for speeding in his latest run-in with the law. As KOMO's Hannah Knowles reports, the city now wants to fine the driver more than $80,000 for violating noise ordinances.
Police body camera video captures Seattle police officers pulling over Miles Hudson.
What's going on, man?
The man behind this Dodge Charger, also known as the Belltown Hellcat.
Wake them up. Wake your up.
People who live in Seattle say Hudson's car is more than just a nuisance. It's a threat to public safety.
I mean, if he's driving 107 miles per hour in downtown, that's putting people's lives at risk. So, I mean, what are we waiting for, him to kill someone?
If it's essentially wildly outside of factory, it's an issue.
In the police body camera video, a Seattle police officer who's also a certified automotive technician notes the exhaust of the Charger is illegally modified, creating an exceedingly loud noise that is equivalent to gunshots or fireworks. Prosecutors charged Hudson with reckless driving, and then the city sued him, ordering him to fix the car's exhaust.
Glad you guys are out here because, man, he is possibly being there. Yeah. So you live there? Yeah, I live in Cobb, that building right there, 3rd floor. We hear that.
But now court records show the city says Hudson hasn't fixed the car or responded to their lawsuit against him. And the city is now seeking a staggering $1,300 for every day the car isn't in compliance with the city's noise ordinance.
But you know how much more popular it would be if you were doing it on a track? I mean, I got almost 700,000. What's that?
Hannah Knowles, KOMO News.
I'm Chris Daniels. Seattle city leaders are about to ask you for the biggest property tax increase in city history by a mile. We'll tell you how much, what it'll pay for, and whether there's any support for it.
Sunshine around western Washington, and we're going to see a whole lot of it over the next week, and some warmer temperatures as well. Take you up to the Olympic National Park, and you can see here from Hurricane Ridge just a few puffy clouds. Coming up in your extended KOMO forecast, how quickly temperatures will get to near 80 degrees.
I like the sound of that. And before we head to break, here's a look at today's Who Knew question. New research shows this can make you happier at work. You can send us your guesses on the Como News Facebook page or on X using the hashtag Como News. Tacoma and Seattle have made a notorious nationwide list: dog attacks against mail carriers. Last year, Tacoma was at number 25 in the nation for these attacks. Como's Paul Rivera goes over the numbers and tells us what dog owners need to know.
The first thing to remember is that while your dog might be friendly with you, they might not be so friendly if a postal worker walks into your yard. This is the U.S. Postal Service's Dog Awareness Week video reminding you that furry friends could suddenly not be a friend to the mail carrier.
Can you picture a member of your family attacking a mail carrier? Of course not. But with dogs, it happens.
Siegfried Malong teaches employees how to protect themselves.
This satchel will be our best defense.
And it is training that's needed. Seattle and Tacoma are in the top 30 nationwide for these kind of attacks, with 13 that happened last year in Tacoma. Siegfried has had a close call himself before. How scary is that?
It was terrified.
There's a huge stray dog issue in Tacoma right now.
At the Metropolitan, a doggy daycare on South Tacoma Way, the business owners aren't necessarily surprised.
If your dog is an outside dog, make sure they're contained, not where the mailman's going to go.
Other tips include keeping your dog on a leash or in another room to let the mail carriers do their job uninterrupted. Not doing so could also cost big. The Postal Service estimates on average it's a more than $60,000 insurance claim.
As always say, be safe, be safe, be safe, be safe.
Reporting in Tacoma, Paul Rivera, Como News.
Well, post office officials said you will get several warnings about your dog before they stop delivering mail to your house. And they emphasize that it could affect not just mail service to your home, but in the entire neighborhood as well. Well, the Como drone team capturing this video while flying over the University of Washington. There's Husky Stadium there in the distance. Seattle's Montlake neighborhood just looking great. A clear day when that video is taken, Theron, and it looks like we'll have more of that today.
Oh, yeah, more sunshine not only today, but the next several days. So I hope you like that. And UW campus looking beautiful right now, and probably your own neighborhood with plenty of greenery, thanks to all the rain of late, several inches of rain over the last several days. Take you all the way up to Whidbey Island, and you can see the tide is out. And I think if you look at the screen, you can see somebody has decided to walk all the way out to the water's edge, because when the tide's out, you just can't resist to go as far as you possibly can. Maybe do some beach combing there, and nice puffy clouds to be found and blue skies. Temperatures 56 in Tacoma, 57 for Olympia right now, 56 in Shelton, and 61 already in Friday Harbor. And we're almost at 60 degrees in Centralia with 60 for Kelso. Okay, hour by hour forecast, moving our way through 1 and 2 o'clock. A few extra clouds sort of hanging around here or there, but not much. We're going to go to the low 60s, and then we move on to the mid 60s on through 3 and 4 o'clock with plenty of sunshine through the second half of the day as we get closer to sundown. Maybe a few clouds to add some color to your sunset, but that's about it. Just kind of splitting hairs here because it's all about the sunshine today, not just today, but the next several days. We're really getting locked into a pattern where high pressure dominates our forecast into the weekend. And as we head into the weekend, got a lot of outdoor activities that are going to be going on, festivals, graduations coming up on Saturday. Should be no problem at all getting outside because the forecast you see today is just going to repeat itself with temperatures getting warmer and warmer as we get closer to Saturday. 67 today in Shelton, same for Seattle. Got 67 in Bremerton and 63 in Bellingham out toward the coast, 62 there in Aberdeen, and 70 for Centralia. So some of our warmest temperatures will be found in the South Sound as usual, and we'll do that again over the next couple days. So temperature tracker, our warmest day will be Saturday, but the next couple very comfortable for getting outside. 71 on Thursday, you can go to 76 on Friday, upper 70s to right around 80 degrees. In fact, on Saturday, I would not be surprised if places like Lacey, Olympia, down towards, say, Kelso, probably 80 or better on Saturday. A little bit cooler on Sunday because we'll get a stronger onshore flow. This time of year, now that we're into June and getting closer to summer, what we'll do is find that onshore flow in the morning, bring in some marine air, and then we'll reveal afternoon sunshine. So that's sort of our natural air conditioning once we get into June, July, and August. There you go, extended Como forecast. Hard to find much difference in the days when it comes comes to cloud cover, morning clouds, afternoon sun across the board there. Maybe a few extra clouds filtering your sun on Saturday. You probably won't even notice. And then dry again on Sunday, dry for Monday and Tuesday. Temperatures a touch cooler. I think a lot of folks find low 70s just about perfect around here, but no rain in sight for the next 7 days. And after 2 very active weather-worn days, it is nice to calm things down around here and get back to what we should be doing in early June, and that's hanging out in the low 70s.
Right? Out with the old and in with the new.
Yes.
I like it.
For sure.
That's a perfect forecast to me. Okay, let's get back to today's Who Knew question. New research shows this can make you happier at work. I feel like there are a lot of things that can make you happier at work, like the people you work with, maybe a raise.
I feel like this is kind of a trick question.
Right?
Is the boss watching?
Right? If he is.
Yeah, because it's like putting your feet up on the desk, something like that can make you happier at work. I think you're probably onto something there, liking your coworkers.
Liking your coworkers? I'm going to go with a raise.
A raise? Well, that's a slam dunk. I'm sure that works too.
Let's see what some people are guessing. Allison says good coffee.
Oh, yeah, that's important. Music, according to Jeff.
Music, interesting. George says bringing a pet to work. Okay.
Yeah, you know, I have a friend of mine who works in an office, and he tells me that they play the same, like, 18 songs in a row, and he knows, and they play at the same time every day too. So it's becoming almost like a bit of torture. Shirley says happy coworkers.
Okay, all right, kind of like your answer. Well, you can continue to send us your guesses on the Como News Facebook page or on X using the hashtag Como News.
Optum is here for all your primary and specialty care needs. In person at over 45 locations and virtually 7 days a week.
Our care teams have been favorites in this community for 100 years.
From Tacoma to Bellingham, healthier care is here.
With the start of summer just 2 weeks away, doctors reminding people certain medications can make a person even more vulnerable to higher temperatures. Some medications that can cause heat intolerance include diuretics, heart medications like blood pressure drugs, antihistamines, decongestants, antibiotics, antidepressants, and antipsychotics.
Medications that decrease the body's ability to shunt blood out to the skin and then sweat off that fluid to help release a lot of that heat. That's really why they predispose to heat illness overall.
Doctors say it's very important to stay hydrated when it gets hot outside. Heat can also degrade medication. Experts say to make sure to store medicine away from sunlight in a cool, dry place. A brain tumor can significantly affect a person's quality of life, not just length of life. There are different types of brain tumors and ways to treat them. Primary brain tumors are those that originate in the brain, like glioblastoma and others. Metastatic brain tumors originate in other parts of the body, then migrate to the brain or spinal cord.
Patients that present with brain tumors can present sometimes with a long history of headaches. And the headaches, instead of improving or instead of